the humankind was skilled to be very rational and very organized. Like Charlie Chaplin used to say, we have been trained to be machine men. But now that machines can do this activity even better than us, we can be back to you humans. And so we can unlearn how to be a machine man and relearn how we can be humans. If I am an employee, I am trained and upskilled in order to leverage AI as an augmentation of my abilities. This will improve my ability to create value for the company. First of all, I need to congratulate with you. This is the first time I do an interview so deep, so rich, without preparation of questions and answers. So it's all improvised. I can confirm it to all the audience. And this was not prepared, but this is, I love this question.
Where is this fear coming from? I mean, what's the alternative? What's the scenario of the future that makes you and others think of this type of, let's say, risk?
Today, we have collected data in the last 2 years through online internet computers. That is 90% of all data that humankind has collected in all the history of humankind. So it means that every 2 years, we are doubling our information, our, let me say, culture, our knowledge. And this is something that, of course, is a flagship activity that we need to take care in order to be able to leverage all this information. At the same time, the computer power of the supercomputers, but even the smartphones, is increasing so much to be compared with the human brain. No? So that means that the speed of change can bring the humankind to a singularity point. Somebody is also talking about a transhuman era, no? That where the machines are more powerful than humans' ability. So of course, we are in the moment where we are deciding the future of the humankind. And it's very important to make the right decisions. Right decisions on how to leverage this technology hypergrowth in a good way, in the right way, in the safe way that is good for the human evolution, and it's not creating problems to the human evolution. So that's why I was saying leverage technology instead of be leveraged by technology.
Where is this fear coming from? I mean, what's the alternative? What's the scenario of the future that makes you and others think of this type of, let's say, risk?
Look, it's not me. I am one of the optimists in the landscape of innovation vision, because I believe that innovation always brought the humankind in a better position than in the past.
Yes.
It's just that we need to understand what is the new setup.
Be mindful of it.
Be mindful and adapt to it. So, but the risk is there because, of course, a wrong use of technology can easily create problems. Then, of course, in the long term, I believe that the humankind will always find, and I say even more, the nature will find
will balance.
a balance. You know? But short term, there will be some mistakes.
Like
I always bring some examples in the past, not technology related, but think about cigarettes. Tobaccos. At the end of the Second World War, cigarettes were given as a gift to everybody, like a fantastic innovation that everybody could do, no? Something like that. Now we know that it's dangerous for health, and we don't do anymore like this. I mean, somebody can appreciate, but I mean, it's minority, not everybody. Look at nuclear energy and what we did with. Of course, it's fundamental to have the ability to produce energy through the nuclear processing. But of course, we have also, we had Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So mistakes that in the past we did because of these discoveries. So now if we look at artificial intelligence, robotics, and so on,
Yes.
I think that, and all the advanced technologies, biotech, for example, and so on, it's possible to make mistakes. So it's possible that a company, that a state can decide to leverage these technologies to reduce the cost of production, the cost of labor, no?
Yes.
And reduce also the work positions, opportunities. This is something that needs to be carefully managed because, there can be an impact on the economy. Otherwise, if this is used with policies and laws in corporates and governments in order to increase the productivity.
Yeah.
If I am an employee, even a white-collar employee,
Yes. Skilled.
and I am replaced by a machine, by a software, this is a problem. If I am an employee, I am trained and upskilled in order to leverage AI as an augmentation
Yes.
of my abilities, this will improve my ability to create value for the company. No? And of course, this is not anymore only a need and let me say, yes, a need of the company is the need of the people. So the single employee, the single professional should understand that it's important to upskill ourselves in order to be more productive. And who will not do will lag. Will be the lagger because, of course, who will not do will be behind in terms of productivity. And I think that's the big lesson we had last year with ChatGPT.
Yes.
No? Because, everybody was aware in our environment about the power of artificial intelligence. Watson is a big engine that is quite old now. But people, the normal people, were not aware of it. When ChatGPT arrived on the market, everybody understood the power of artificial intelligence on every kind of job. And this is something that changed the mindset. And people have started to understand the risk and the opportunity. And now we need to work in order to leverage the opportunity, to skill the people to catch this opportunity.
You said, companies has to train, but also you switched on the other side of the story, which is you have to skill yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one should start?
Look, I am quite old, quite senior. I like more than...
I like senior more than old, right?
I like quite senior to have seen a lot of things in the past. Yeah. I started my career where it was my company's duty to train me to be the right skilled professional. Okay?
Duty.
Because the loyalty on my employment with my company was a standard. You could change a company every 5-6 years, not more, no? And my career was strongly, I spent 25 years in Accenture as a partner, senior partner, and then...
That's substantial.
And then I opened my company with Jellify and so on. And now I am an entrepreneur in different areas. But I spent almost all my life with 2 or 3 companies. So now it's different. Now we are in the gig economy.
Yes.
And people make their future. Yes. And this means that people has to go and learn and train and invest on themselves, pay trainings on themselves, and then ask for be paid in order to have a return and the payback of their training.
Wow, interesting.
So each one...
Is the difference between before and now. Yeah, I haven't thought of it this way. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Now everybody is an entrepreneur of himself, herself.
Even if they're an employee with a salary, they're still an employee because at a point in time, the loyalty is not the same as before.
Yeah.
So, okay, because I mean, you had experience with 3 companies. Now, a 25-year-old will have experience with 3 companies. It's like it's crazy, and that's a very interesting, and that's why you have to actually spend on the training, whether it's time or money, on your own growth and development. Otherwise, you as an individual will be left behind, and then if that happens, you can't complain.
Correct.
And because anyway, the training, the material is available either free or even the trainings themselves are much, much cheaper than before. Before, I remember, let's say in the late 90s and early 2000s, if you want to take a small course, professional course, usually it used to cost between 30 to 40,000 dirhams for a week of training. Now you can take maybe a master class of 3 days online. For a fraction, maybe $300, $400.
Correct.
So the responsibility is really on the individual, and this is why. But what's the risk on the organizations in this case? Because if you have people who move in and out, what does it do to the culture, to the innovation? What's the risk on organizations?
This is, the generational, let me say, clash that I was before, because the management style has to be changed completely. I mean, consider that the retention of employees in the past, in the last decades, were about good salary, good projects, good activities, and upskilling. So giving training to people. And this was creating the right sense of belonging, for convenience, let me say. Now this is, as I said before, not anymore applicable. So it's becoming very important to be attractive.
As a company?
As a company, yes. And to attract the best people, because you are the best company managing the best project, the quality of work you do, the quality of services, the quality of product is making the difference and attracting the right people. And regarding the retention, it's important to give people the right environment. I mean, now the work environment is completely different. The right mix of in-office and off-site work, the right mix of organization and flat hierarchy, the right communication, the right kind. I want to give you an example.
Yes, please.
I was a few months ago part of Jellify team in the We Make the Future. It's an event happening in Bologna, in Italy, And I found that this environment is a lot innovation driven. But there are companies of every kind of.
It's not innovation driven.
It's innovation.
It is innovation driven. There's a lot of innovation.
It's an innovation forum. Where a lot of very innovative companies take part. But the message and what I found was very, very singular, is that even if it was a conference with the top speakers from top companies, governments, and so on, serious topics about exactly the same topics we are talking about, between two speakers, there was a music band or a DJ or a sax player bringing arts and creativity in the conference. I was very surprised, even if, for sure I was pleased about that because I love music. But I was really surprised to see how to attract the new generation, you need to make things happy. You need to bring happiness and entertainment in the work.
Something fresh.
Otherwise, if you are boring like 3 decades ago, people will leave it.
They will not stay.
They will not stay.
So when you say, let me, retract a bit just in case, so we are able to synchronize on the concepts. What is innovation in your view? I mean, because if you ask 10 people now, what is innovation, you'll get 10 answers. Is it true, or is there a definition for it? Is there no definition?
Okay, this is a good question because it's a buzzword now, and we need to give a meaning to this buzzword. So, innovation is something that is not new, because research and inventions always happened in the past, Unfortunately, I come from a country that when we talk about innovation has a lot to say.
Of course, yeah.
Italy, of course. And so
innovation... Half of my office is from Italy.
Yeah, that's appreciated, including the coffee machine.
Including the coffee machine, exactly.
So innovation is not something new. What is new is that while in the past, innovation, that call it research, was just a department making experimentation for the future and theoretical stuff and so on, while the company was running a very solid and structured business with the solid process, policies, systems, and so on. Innovation means the ability to bring the same unstructured kind of methodology that you have in the research also in the rest of the company.
Interesting. Okay.
I explain better.
Yes.
When I started my career, you could design a process to manage a function or whatever, a task in your company, and probably you could follow this process for 99% of the cases for 5 years without changing the process.
True, agreed. You have an SOP, the standard operating procedure, everybody comes in, you train it to them, do 1, 2, 3, they do 1, 2, 3 for 5 years.
Correct.
Everybody's happy.
And compliance was killing you if you was not
If
respecting.
you don't, yes, exactly. There's an audit, there's compliance. Yes.
Correct. Now, a company that leverages still this kind of setup can die tomorrow. Because on the contrary, we need to appreciate and we need to award the employees, and especially the managers, able to be flexible, to be adaptive to the changing environment and changing conditions of the business that is so fast that the time you take to approve a new policy, the policy is already old.
Obsolete, yeah.
This is introduce a bit of instability, unclarity, of course, confusion, for sure.
Confusion, yes.
But we need to be good, and we need to learn how to manage a company full of confusion.
Okay.
Because confusion is exactly the environment where the best inventions are created. Okay. So this is something that I learned many years ago, actually. It's an interesting anecdote. I will not mention name of the companies, but when I was in charge of a merger integration, a post-merger integration of 2 banks. An Italian bank acquired a German bank. And I was having a lot of problems because of the cultural clash between the 2 cultures.
Of course, yeah.
Italian bank, even if it was a bank and so on, but in any case was leveraging a lot this kind of creativity. Yes. In managing processes, projects, and having every day the best idea to solve the problem, even if it's not written in the procedures. On the other side, in the tradition of German companies, especially German banks, they couldn't think even to consider an option if it was not in the papers. So you can imagine...
Classic German, right?
And since the acquisitions was the Italian bank acquiring the German bank, you can imagine the frustration of these people in Germany to be in this chaos. They
quote unquote, right?
They were really upset. How can I manage my business in this chaos? No? So this was a lesson learned that, and good news for my country, let me say, that the creativity skills and even the ability to manage, to do improvisation, that usually we have in Italy, is coming back to be useful. Because in this new environment, to be too much structured is absolutely a a showstopper. It's something that is stopping the ability to create something competitive. And that's why I think that today companies should be very careful to their policies and look at them completely from this new angle of eco-sustainability, of course, on one side, and on the other side, flexibility and creativity promotion in the mindset of the managers.
So eco-sustainability and business sustainability, because you have
Somehow,
to be exactly because you have to be competitive, and this the only way to be sustainable as a business who can survive turmoil and all those kind of competitive environments, you need to be sustainable in a way, and also eco. You have to make sure that you're responsible, so on and so forth. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because now I think of it, what's the issues? I mean, I don't want to assume that there are issues, but this style of managing an organization, if it's a startup, if it's 50 employees, if it's non-essential, well, not non-essential, if it's non-critical, it's fine. But what if it's 1,500, 2,000, 10,000 employees? How do you manage chaos?
This is, first of all, it's important to create a culture.
Well, first of all, you have to be an Italian.
No. There are ways of... you learned how to do a coffee
yes,
in the
true,
Italian.
True, in the Italian.
Even better than many Italians.
Oh, wow, thank you.
So I think that...
it's learnable, yes?
Yeah, it's learnable. So it's important to train people to be creative and at the same time flexible and at the same time responsible. So,
creative, flexible, responsible. Okay.
Correct. Because I bring a very important example that is in the organization of Netflix, for example.
Yes.
Netflix is an innovative company with thousands of employees, so it's a good example. The employees have a full freedom. You know that they don't have leaves, means personal leaves. They don't have a budget. They can be absent every time they want. But of course, at the end of the year, what is calculated is the performance of the employee. And if the performance is good, despite any kind of absence that they had at work, everybody's happy. If the performance are not good, even if this employee worked 16 hours a day, every day, nobody cares because the performance is not good. What does it mean? We come back to the point that each single employee is becoming an entrepreneur of himself and herself, because they need to train themselves, they need to organize their work. And honestly, I think that sometimes we forget that our young generation now are very well educated. Everybody has a university degree, so they are able to organize themselves. And I think we need to stimulate them to do even more. So we need to make them responsible of what they do instead of forcing them to do according to company rules. So that's why I think this is possible also into the big organizations. Of course, Netflix is a company who was growing by hiring people with this kind of DNA already. If you take a bank in Europe, just to make the opposite example, of course, 80%, 90% of the employees are old style, and to make this mindset change is not easy. And this comes to the importance of the change management. In Jellify, we always, and this is also my personal belief, thought that digital transformation, as we used to call years ago, now it's digital innovation, whatever it is, it's not a technology play.
Agreed.
It's a people play.
Agreed, 100%.
So years ago, I created a concept, an offering of Jellify that was called Smart Human, in order to let people change exactly in the direction that we mentioned before. Both employees in the B2B, but also in the B2C, so the consumers, the people on the street. Recently, we in Jellify acquired a new company. It's a very well-established company because I think they are 30 years old or more or less. It was the first and the most powerful change management company in Italy called MIDA. And they created, together with us, on top also of this smart human concept, another concept called people ecology. Mm-hmm. People ecology is an offering, is a mindset that we want to offer to our customers in order to help the companies to take this journey of making a future for the company, for employees, that is sustainable for the ecosystem and sustainable for the business and competitive and attractive. So people ecology means to give a lot of focus, to give a lot of priority to change the mindset of people before changing the technology. Otherwise, the technology will be not adopted by the people and they will be wasted investments forever. There are a lot of drawers full of slides and software that was done and never used. So we need to be sure to address this. And that's why we push on the market this people ecology approach. It's a methodology, it's very, very well. It's in communication, it's in cultural setup, it's in engagement of the employees and so on. And honestly, I strongly believe on that. I'm an ambassador, I may say, of this mindset and this offering because I strongly believe. Also at personal level, I did a personal investment in this direction, and part of my investment in Jellify, I invested in a company that is about people engagement, employee engagement in the company, try to create a family so that employees can have a relationship, a collaboration, even outside the working time, making together sports, hobbies, leisure, and so on. And organizing this with an app, a portal that is giving opportunities to meet and greet, let me say. And another investment I did is in a company that is creating innovative art and events and performance and so on, because I strongly believe that in the last century, the humankind was skilled to be very rational and very organized. Like Charlie Chaplin used to say, we have been trained to be machine mans.
Machine mans, yes.
You remember in the Dictator, you see. But now that machines can do this activity even better than us, we can
focus on our creativity.
Yes, we can be back to you humans.
Yeah.
And so we can unlearn how to be a machine man and relearn how we can be
our
humans.
Instincts. Yeah.
So that instincts, creativity, intuition, improvisation, emotional intelligence, I think is embracing all that is becoming more and more important. Why? And that's why I think it's important to train managers in companies now with doing arts. We have a lot of examples. I am one, because in addition to what I do in business, I do music. But I know that the CEO of Goldman Sachs is a DJ every Saturday evening.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And I can give you a long list of people practicing arts at professional level.
Yes.
As a side activity to the main one where they do. This means that it's helping to keep or to earn and to learn this creativity skills, this intuition, this communication. I think it's very important not to read books, but to practice.
Yes.
And there is a training that we do, for example, for managers in companies. It's a retreat, actually. We bring people in retreat to practice arts. When a manager, very rational, very organized, very strict to its own business, it's in front of a canvas, has to invent a portrait.
Yes.
Of course, it's a challenge.
There's no SOP for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a challenge, and it's an opportunity to try to reconnect to the inner side of ourselves and to listen to ourselves and to express in the canvas whatever it is, even in our spots of color. But the choice of colors, the choice of the sides of the spots and so on, means something.
Yes.
So it's important to give this to the people and train people, to retrain people to use these human skills. This is more or less behind all this.
What about strategy and KPIs? How do you measure success?
This is a very important question, because KPIs is a sub-product of process design.
Exactly, right? I mean, you say that you have
Yeah.
to do X, Y, Z. You did X, Y, Z. You're a good person. We know how to measure it. It's clear. And that's the strategic objective we've achieved. Tick, move on. In this way, how do you do it?
Yeah. The KPI are still existing and are still important. But you cannot have a KPI for each micro step of the process, because you don't have anymore a so rigid, strictly designed process. So you need to focus on few KPIs that are more on the key effectiveness indicator. That means that you need to measure milestones of an activity that at the beginning, for example, few KPIs measuring the risk at the start of a project, the risk and the opportunity at the start of the project, something in the middle, for sure at the end, the result.
Yeah.
You cannot anymore monitor KPIs for each single day, single step. It's impossible. But another important thing about strategy, you said, is that the methodology of planning in general is changed. Is dramatically changed.
Yes, yes.
I remember recently, I cannot name the company, we have been engaged to help a company to launch a venture building function, let me say, in the corporate.
Okay.
And we started to analyze ideas, and this funnel of ideas was creating, of course, promoted ideas to be object of a deep dive, and then this object of a prototype maybe, and so on, the classical innovation funnel. But the good is that when we asked to invest in the second stage, was the prototype.
Yes.
Their policies, their process of approving investments were, please give us a 5 years business plan of this idea. Okay, and this is an example how strategies of following the last century methodologies are not applicable anymore. Today, innovation is done completely different. I have an idea. I test the idea, investing some money, making a market prototype, even a logical prototype, a mock-up, not a real software. No? And then if I pass this test, I invest other money to create the prototype. And then if the prototype is successful, I do a pilot and I invest money in the pilot. But during this process of investment, small investment, I'm learning which could be the future of this idea. And I'm learning which could be the business case. I can do a business case at 1 year. I cannot do anymore a business case at 5 years. And this is a big change in the strategy planning, because you can strategize 5 years of market positioning, but you cannot do anymore a 5 years strategy of a product, of a service, because you don't know tomorrow what will happen in the market that change completely the future of this product, of this service. So it's very important to be pragmatic, reactive, fast in adapting, and also accepting another important cultural item, that is failure. I mean, it's another bias word now. We have also a series of podcasts similar to this as a Jellify about failure, no? And this is it's a lot because it's very important to focus on that, because in the culture of the last century, failure was something strongly negative.
True.
No? People failing were considered, okay, they are off. Now I can hear, even in our podcast, companies saying, yes, because we are doing a problem because we measured the failures, we are not failing enough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because it's very important. What does it mean? That if you measure failures and you are not failing enough, means that since innovation is about failure, you are not innovating enough. You are not trying.
Wow.
You are not risking enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're not failing enough. That means we're not innovating enough.
Correct.
That's amazing. It's a mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset, but it's not easy to bring this mindset.
So here's a question:
in my generation management. Let me say.
So how do you control resources? I mean, I know that lots of the listeners now and most of the listeners to this podcast are CEOs, founders, investors, managers, directors of large corporations. The first thing that comes into their mind is, how do I manage resource utilization, efficiency? Because if I leave it to the people's wills, especially if they're engineers, and give them $1 million, they will spend the $1 million all together on trials and errors. And you know how engineers work, right? So what about this critical issue?
This is something coming back to the KPIs.
Yes.
Of course, it's important to fail enough and measure that you are failing enough, but it's important also to measure the success. So the idea is to always try 10 things, 10 ideas, fail 8 of them, to have 2 succeeding,
the J curve,
and maybe 1 becoming booming and be expanded around the world. So
that's gambling.
Exactly, it's gambling. It's gambling because it's a moving gambling, because you are shooting while you are on a SUV on the dunes, and it's not the target is not easy to visualize. So I think that it's very important that we learn how to test every day ourselves against the market and the competition, and to learn every day which is the next move tomorrow. I am a lover of metaphors. I learned how to do that many years ago when I started to do sailing tournaments. Sailing
in the sea.
The sea.
Okay.
Sailing boats.
Okay.
Because you need to say, when you do a race,
okay,
it's not important just to go. Like if you are a tourist, you need to go at the right speed to win.
True.
Okay, but the right speed, it's a compromise, a trade-off between how much you take wind and you push the boat, and how much you are going in the direction that you need to go. So when you have in front of you the wind, you need to make different directions, maneuver, and it's very important to test with the wind every time, to keep to test the direction of the wind, in order to be always able to catch the best angle possible. You cannot put the automatic navigation and go to sleep, because you need to test to each maneuver. You need to test where the wind is, because the wind can change direction, and you need to change. You need to be ready to understand every 10 minutes where the wind is going, and you need to change everything, even the setup of your boat. So this is a lesson learned on how to navigate in the new market.
So this is a beautiful metaphor, because in an organization, because this is exactly it. This is exactly it.
Yeah.
You go straight against the wind. That's you following the SOP to the letter. You go right, you go left, you catch the wind.
Yeah.
But that, even though it took probably longer because of the maneuvering exercises,
Correct.
maybe a little bit more energy, but you've reached faster and you've had
Correct.
success quicker. And maybe whose responsibility is it in an organization to make this type of decisions and maneuvers?
Actually, it's not anymore one person. And this is, I mean, of course, it's important that, I don't know, the CEO is a visionary, is a person who able to do this. But if the board of directors is not
Yes.
following him and acting in the day-by-day work exactly in the same way, it could be a problem. Like exactly in a sailing boat, there is a team and everybody has a task, but like there is also a captain. But I mean, people do because they know what to do, not because the captain is saying exactly what to do.
Telling them, okay.
So every team member in that boat knows if the wind change, what to do. And this is something that, so my answer to your question is, who is in charge? The board.
But how do they know? I mean, you said everyone knows what to do when the wind changes. If it's not standardized, if it's not systematized, if it's chaotic and on the moment, how do they know? Where do they get this skill?
Look, that's a good point. I think that there could be a centralized market monitoring activity that can everybody be aware of what's happening at the wind detector.
Yeah.
The wind detector must be available for all the management of the company. And I mean, it could be also a personal effort to read, investigate, but a centralized information gathering, I think, is important.
Okay.
But then, as you say, it's about creativity of the singles, and responsibility of the singles. So I can feel that for me, now we need to turn on this wave. We need to turn because it's my responsibility. I'm at the wheel, and I take the responsibility. The rest of the team has to trust my decision, and another one in charge of another role on the boat will take the responsibility, and I need to trust him about that. It's a matter of trusting the creativity of everybody. So that's important, that the creativity of everybody
is trusted,
is strong.
Is strong. Okay.
So the hiring process now is not anymore,
on the technical skills.
How many masters you have, how
what are the
much
degrees
creative you are.
Yeah.
And how much
do you measure that?
Intuitive you are.
Well, how do you measure that?
It's a human perception.
So let's say I'm hiring someone now, and I'm really hiring now in my organization.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's easier, obviously, to look at the CV, to look at the certificates, to look them online and see that they have worked at X and Y and Z, and they had a photo with this guy and a photo with this. But how do I measure creativity?
Take a canvas, put a canvas in front of the guy and ask him to paint.
I'll tell you what, if someone does this to me, I will not win any job because I don't know how to paint. I mean, my wife is a painter. This is her painting.
Beautiful.
So she's an artist, so she completes me, right? But I can't. So
you don't need to make a portrait or some very nice paint. It could be spot of colors. It could be mood of colors. I mean, but creativity, if somebody stays blocked in front of the canvas.
Right. Don't take risk and just...
Or maybe you can also tell him or her to decide which kind of discipline. Could be painting, music, can be anything, but you can try to test the emotional intelligence of these people in this way. But on top of this, I think it's a matter of intuition. So I personally believe that when I'm in front of a person, I feel if this person is creative or not, if it's intuitive or not.
Because you have the capability yourself to see that human element, right? Because people spot their likes. And if you see someone who's creative, you have to be creative first to be able to spot someone.
I feel when somebody is genuine or fake. I feel when somebody is, let me say, has a powerful attitude that is useful today or not, more than the skills. Skills can be learned. I mean, ChatGPT is the most skilled employee you can have.
True.
But somebody able to feel what to do tomorrow to compete with your what to do tomorrow to compete with the other companies is something that you cannot find on ChatGPT.
So I will take this and go back to your example of people having to do really lots of stuff before they onboard the technology. You mentioned this a bit earlier, right? Now, I work with lots of companies as well on that domain. So enabling innovation for them, doing a cultural assessment, cultural transformation. And every time I work with, and I always work with CEOs, founders, so the people who are in charge of the organization. They always tell me, oh, put it on hold because I have an ERP system or a CRM system or this IT change or this cloud migration, whatever. And I always tell them, listen, garbage in, garbage out. You bring the best system in the world. If your team is not using it, three things will happen. A, obviously user adoption is not there, so they'll go their own ways. B, you cannot just lift and ship. You have to do some sort of adoption. And C, the world is moving forward, so that will actually slow you down, not move you forward. It's like someone who's not competent at all in what they do, and then they start using ChatGPT. It will show. You cannot, they will even expose them even more. Yeah. But they don't listen. They think, they say, we know what we're doing. So I had a chat with a CEO the other day, and I told them, how do you know? And they were like, oh yeah, we do this, we do that. It's like, but you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know, how do you think you know? And they said, no, I've been the CEO for the organization for the last 30 years. And of course I know, and this and that. And I was like, hey, you know what? So what's your feeling about this?
Okay, this is the very key point of this change. I think that we are in a world that is much less deterministic than in the past. Even this, the knowledge, I know, I don't know. As you could note before, I am not using know. I'm using feel. No, because the feeling and the knowing are very different. Knowing means that I have certainties, and based on these certainties, on facts, I make a decision. Today, we need to make a decision on perceptions. Sometimes, on feelings. Sometimes I let go some collaborators in my company. Not because they were not performing well, or they did mistakes, or they did something bad. Just because I was feeling that the energy and the contribution of this person was not excellent, not good enough to move on to the next stage, for its career and for the company. So this was, and I remember the conversation I had with this person. I said, look, I feel that there is no chemistry, and sorry, but let's do something better for both, and so on. So I think that the management needs to look at the results. Trust the employees, delegate, fail sometimes, change the people if people need to be changed, and try again. And then, of course, the average of these failures and success has to be good.
Positive, net positive, yes.
Can be only failures, of course. But the mistake is part of the game.
Isn't this dangerous?
It is.
No, leaving it to the subjective view of the leader to say that, oh, I feel that you're not doing well. How would the leader know?
First of all, the leader is in the organization because somebody hired. Yeah. So if I see that the leader, the vision of the leader, the beliefs of the leader, approach, the methodology, the culture of the leader is not in line with the culture of the company, first thing is not to hire. So I think that the choice of the team member is very important in this. It's like a boat.
Yeah.
I don't bring in my boat in the middle of a storm in the ocean somebody that I don't trust. I don't like.
Of course. Now, leadership and culture are two faces of the same coin. You'll find that if there's a control culture in the organization, if there's hierarchical way of doing stuff, if there's if there's an authority matrix, if there is a structure, if there is discipline, if there's SOPs, you look at the leader and you'll find him mostly managing from a patriarchal way. He has the savior complex. He is the helper. He is the know-it-all because he is extremely competent. He knows everything to know about the business, and that's how leadership and culture are two faces of the same coin. So if I'm a leader, my culture is a mirror of me, which means I wouldn't know because a fish doesn't know it's in the water. So when someone comes in and I see a mismatch between the culture and the person, it means there's a mismatch between my personality and his or her personality. How would I know?
Look, what you are describing is exactly the story of my last 10 years.
Okay.
You can imagine as a senior partner of Accenture,
yes.
I was very structured and I was very hierarchical in my approach, respecting my bosses and being respected by my collaborators. I had to change completely.
What made you know? Do you remember?
Yes, I changed when I was feeling that people started not to love me anymore as a leader.
Oh, wow. How did you know? What happened?
Because I was too much directive, telling them, let's do this, let's do that, and letting them to execute only in the direction that I was steering.
But how did you know they don't love you anymore?
You feel.
You feel it.
You feel it, and you see the faces, the smiles, how they reply to your email. I mean, you understand. It's easy. And then I understood that something was changing. New generation like to take the opportunity. Actually, I mean, if you look at the history, in the ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and so on, the leaders were 25, 29, 30 years old.
Absolutely, yes.
They were leaders.
Of massive emperors.
Alessandro Magno was I think 26 when, so he was a leader. Now we tend to say, if you are not 60, if you are not 50, if you are not 40,
if you don't have
you
gray
cannot
hair.
be. No, this is not true. We need to repower the young generation, first of all. Second, it's important to let them, let their creativity act. And sometimes they are able to create something that is better than any kind of experience that I earned in 30 years of work or job. So I think that it's a matter of let them try. But it's not a duty only for the seniors. It's a challenge for the seniors, but there is a challenge also for the juniors, because the juniors needs to learn how to listen also. Not the judgment, because we are not talking about the judgment, but the suggestion, the advice of the senior, because maybe sometimes they are wrong, maybe sometimes they're right. And the wisdom of some experience sometimes could be useful. This is, I think, a challenge, because the new generation sometimes are so proud of their own their own abilities and their own independency that try not to listen too much. And if you give an advice, sometimes somebody is saying that they don't like to be advised. This is a mistake. I think that
the young ones, you mean?
Yeah. I think that the success is when you have a senior able to accept that the new generation can be better than him
And they
or
can
her,
give advice also.
but the juniors accepting that whatever they can ideate needs to be, discussed and evaluated together with the seniors.
With experienced
listening.
people.
Because it's meeting the creativity of the new generations.
I like that.
And the wisdom of the old generation that is the best match. And also the right risk-taking and so on. And this is important because sometimes in the startups, the average age is too low and there are a lot of mistakes and they need advisors, senior advisors.
Yes.
The word senior has a meaning in order to help them not to make too many mistakes.
Fatal mistakes,
But the senior advisor needs to be very open-minded.
And listen attentively.
And mindful on what's happening in the world because this is unprecedented change at a speed that there are no beliefs, strong beliefs that last more than 5 years. So we need to put...
And that's the recipe for an innovation culture, for a culture that is conducive and pushes innovation forward, correct? Between this collaboration. So a few weeks back, Amazon killed the remote work policy. So the CEO sent an email to everyone. Microsoft did the same, and now everybody's doing the same. What's your thoughts on that in this?
You are open. You are doing a question. First of all, I need to congratulate with you. This is the first time I do an interview so deep, so rich, without preparation of questions and answers. So it's all improvised. I can confirm it to all the audience. And this was not prepared. But this is, I love this question because after COVID, when we went back to the offices, 2021 more or less, I was a fun to be back to the office. But unfortunately, a lot of people, especially the youngest people, say, why we can stay home, we can work from home, we can. So look at Twitter. Twitter announced that for the future there will be not anymore work in the office, but everything will be remote. At that time, I said something that is exactly what's happening. You know, I say, first of all, we are humans, we are not machines. You can have server cooperating remotely
through fiber.
But through fiber. If you want to become a machine man, please do it. But if you want to keep your human touch, come to the office and talk to people. Go to coffee, go to lunch, express what you did in the weekend, smile to people. I mean, this is important.
Yeah.
And it's even more important if in your business, this kind of skills are required. Because Twitter, I mean, if you look at the employees of Twitter, I imagine Twitter, it's 90% of the personnel, maybe 80, I don't know. It could be operations people, no? Because it's a data center. Twitter is a data center.
Data center, yeah. You don't have sales, you don't have marketing.
Correct. Maybe at that time, it was also the right thing to do. But when I had this discussion with my employees, Jellify is not a data center. We don't do operations. We stimulate innovation, creativity. We, foster this mindset to people, to companies, to clients. We cannot be effective if we do on a conference call. How I can inspire deeply a person, coach a person at emotion, on the emotional intelligence and on the change of methodology, mindset through a video call. No? It's how you do the canvas painting exercise remotely. I mean, you can do, but it's a workaround of the best option that is to meet in person.
Agreed.
So if we have the ability to meet in person, why we need to use the workaround? Of course, if I need to talk with somebody in New York, in Kuala Lumpur, in Sydney, I don't take a flight just for a meeting. And this is also for eco-sustainability reasons.
Of course.
But a team working in a project to go live in 2 months with a product must be in the same room. That's it. This is my belief. And so I'm not surprised at all that these companies are doing a step back, because energy is lost if you are not in the same room. Creativity is impacted if you're not in the same room, and even more important, sense of belonging and loyalty is completely disappearing, because people can work 2 hours for a company, 3 hours for another company, so machine mans. I think there is some feeling, some love that needs to be created between the company and the people, and remotely relationships are not long lasting. No? I think that it's very important to find again the human touch in everything we do.
Isn't there a middle way instead of 100% online or
Sure.
100%? Because what companies are doing now is 100% on premise, like back to office. So the CEO, and I've read the CEO letter from Amazon, Microsoft's doing the same way, everybody's doing the same ways. We go back to and they say it, pre-COVID-19, so 100% in the office. Now, two questions I have here. First, isn't this a treatment of a broad brush to everyone? So what about the introverts? What about the people who need creative space and be alone to be able to, to create things? What about people who their team, like you said, are all over the world? I mean, especially, let's say, Amazon workers that are here in Dubai, maybe their bosses are in Europe. So anyway, they're doing their... So why do they have to... what I'm trying to say. So is there a middle way between both?
Absolutely. There is a middle way. There must be a middle way, because there are things that require a lot of empathy, and this means that for this kind of activities, the physical presence is important. If I need to do a meeting, to just do a progress check of a project, to say milestone down, I don't need to be in a room with a person. But if I need to do a design thinking session, even if now the platform helps these boards, to do post-it, virtual post-it and so on remotely, that is okay. If I need to do a workshop with people around the world, I don't fly everybody for one workshop. But if I need to create a dream team, launching the product to compete on the market, and it's important, it's strategic product, I would more transfer the 20 people working on this project, on this product, in a location for 2 months in order to manage properly the team working and the brainstorming, the right word, between these people. You mentioned before that somebody needs creativity in its own space, and I can understand this, but at the same time, I doubt that the best ideas and creativity comes from one person only. I always believe that the best things comes from the idea of one person, enriched by with the sub-ideas on other people. So that the theoretical idea becomes a practical and successful idea because of enrichment of others' contributions. And this can happen much better if you work in person, at least not full time in person, I agree with you, but the human touch and the moments where to sync the single creativities are important.
Yeah, I think the ripple effect that these decisions have made in the workforce is that, don't you trust your people to actually be productive on their own, to have I'm with you 100%. The reason why I've actually built this space is a co-creation space, design thinking and brainstorming. I never do brainstorming online. We need to do brainstorming, especially with clients. So if I'm working with a client and we're doing the strategy retreat of coming up with ideas, I prepare the space, the coffee, and then we come here and we sit for 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes, because that is invaluable. And you can never replace it with, not never, but it will never be the same impact. But at the same time, as a CEO of Amazon, I made the decision that I know that you will be more productive in the office all the time. So where is the trust and empowerment that we talked about earlier for innovation? And what would people think? Now, I agree that, let's say, 3 days in the office and 2 days off, and that will be left to the team head. So let's say every team of, 15, 20 people in the office, the head will decide, and then there will be some sort of a reporting line to see the effectiveness. And remember the creativity and the chaotic environment. Don't you think this is moving back to the quote-unquote SOPs and the 80s and 90s way of...
Yeah, I think that in this case, what is having a role in this discussion is also the labor contracts.
Okay.
I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
I was in discussions with my employees about this adoption of the full remote at work.
Okay.
I was not supportive, honestly. But I highlighted to them that it's not consistent with the current labor contracts. Because if there is a full flexibility work location, and if, in this case, the productivity is fully responsibility of the single worker, that being at home, he or she is focused on the work and not doing other things during the work time, or doing reasonably other things, but not too much. While on the other side, the work contract, say full-time, fixed salary, and so on. So if there are not a fixed control like in the past, why we are talking about fixed salary? So I said, guys, I am open for a fully open location. You can work whenever you want.
Okay.
Wherever you want. But let's change the contract. You will be not paid anymore just as a monthly salary, allowance, and so on, like now. But you will be paid on deliverables, on milestones, achievements, exactly.
Everyone said no.
The reaction was, oh, no, in this case, no, because I need to pay the rent and so on.
That's nice.
And that's why. So I think that we are experiencing an immaturity of the work, let me say, model,
ethics?
The work model.
Okay.
I think that, as you said, we need to find a compromise between controlled work versus uncontrolled work. Because you need to trust your employees, and your employees need to be responsible.
Accountable,
on what they do.
Yes.
But on the other side, I think that we need to also find a compromise in fully fixed, let me say, salaries. Salaries versus flexible salaries based on achievements.
Makes sense, yeah.
If my bonus is 10% or maybe 20% in some cases of the fixed salaries, this is not really pushing me to do. But if the result is what is important, and the impact of what I do is important, I will put more attention. So if I'm not the most responsible person, I'm driven to become.
Because incentive drives behavior, right?
So yes, exactly. Because change management is not only moral assuasion. Sometimes you need to also create the need for people
to change and behave in a certain way. Let me end with this. What's your thoughts? How long have you been here in this region, in our region?
Now almost 12 years.
12 years. What's your thoughts on the state of innovation in our region? And I need as uncensored as, real, pragmatic.
I am very prepared to this question because I have a strong opinion on that. Because this is a fantastic place where innovation can be created, can be also funded, can be supported for the growth and so on. And we see a lot of hubs, accelerators, even corporate innovation helping startups to grow. The funds, and both in Saudi here, are even government funds, private equity funds. I mean, there are a lot of operators that can help to find the right resources to do that.
Yes.
The point is that we need to be conscious that a startup in UAE, for example, same for Saudi, but especially in UAE, can succeed when, after the early times in the UAE market, the startup is able to reach the world, to become a global player.
The platform.
Because, if I am a startupper in Silicon Valley, let me talk now B2C startup.
Yes.
No? If I'm a startupper in Silicon Valley, I can rely on 200 million of US people, potentially buyers of my service, no? 200 million. If I am in European Union, more or less, I can rely on 200 million, more or less, no, people. Even if I am Italian, and I want to rely only on Italy, is 66 million people. And then there are other countries, like Israel, for example, that is not so big, but because of their business relationship with US, if you are a startup in Israel, you can rely on 200 million of Americans as well, and not only. So here, we don't have 200 million people. So it's important that our startups here can bridge as soon as possible to Europe, to US, to Asia, in order to become global players. So I would more focus on accelerators and hubs and facilitators that are able to nurse, the startup in the beginning with seeding investments and so on, but then to scale up locally and as soon as possible scale up globally. This is one of the reasons, for example, as a Jellify, we believe to be a good incubator, let me say, accelerator, better than incubator, for this partner. I like much more of the startups because at least we can bridge to the European market. And if there is a good product, we can take it in our portfolio, we invest on it, and this becomes one of the portfolio solutions that we offer in Spain, in Italy, and many other countries.
Wow, so any startup who works with Jellify, you give them an entry point to Europe as well, through your own network.
If it's a valid,
of course, if there's a market product fit,
why not? Why not?
That's interesting. So you think the biggest challenge that startups and innovation, generally speaking, is facing in this part of the world, especially in the GCC and the Middle East, is market fragmentation?
Sorry, can you do?
So do you think that the innovation challenge, the biggest challenge that we have in this part of the world is the market fragmentation? So
yeah, I think that, yes, fragmentation and let me say localization.
I think but from a policy perspective, from an access perspective, or from a diversity perspective?
From a connection perspective.
Okay. So accessibility.
A hub in UAE should work on a daily basis with a hub in Australia, with a hub in Europe, with a hub in US, in order to be sure that the exportation of what we create here is immediate. It cannot be only depending on maybe an investor who is importing. No, it should be by design.
How do they do it? So if I'm a startup and I want to do it, I mean, there's obviously Jellify, and you mentioned that you give them access to Europe. But if I'm a startup listening now to this, to you, what's the kind of, do I go on Google and search? Is there a way that I can do access those different markets?
Simple. I would select as a part. During the investment rounds.
Yes.
If I can choose one fund or one investor, one even advisor, board advisor on my company, I would select those that can bridge me
with that
out. It's important to survive short term in the local market. So having as a board advisor, maybe an Emirati leader able to help me here for sure is important. But the day after, it's important to have somebody able, or some fund or some company, able to bring me to Europe, to US, to Asia, and to expand my solution.
Okay, so when the rounds are happening, that is one of the criteria for choosing my either investor or my advisor. Okay.
There is a second criteria for me very important. There are a lot of organizations able to give what I call it cold money. No?
Okay. What's that?
Or easy advice. That means cold money means I gave you money. I wait for returns, but I don't help you so much in bringing the returns. So you need to play your game, and I'm just betting on you. That's it. Don't expect from me any help. No, and this is one, the cold money. The second is the easy advice. It means I organize a demo day. I bring you on stage. You present. I can say, fantastic startup, I suggest to follow up, blah, blah, clap your hands, okay? This is easy advice. No? But the day after, you get 20 requests for proposal. Three of you in the startups are collapsing because you are not able to respond to them. No? So on the other side, they see, and at least as a Jellify, we are structured to do what we call jellification. This is our way to do acceleration. It is not cold money, it's warm or hot money, because we help the startups to succeed, even introducing them, networking, lobbying, and so on. And then we give full advice, because actually we support the startups in doing their jobs, augmenting their capabilities. If you get 20 requests for proposal, you can rely on Jellify to partner with that is giving you the capabilities, the capacity, and so on, that is getting you successful in the 20 proposal. And honestly, I find very interesting also, very interesting for the corporates who buy the startup service, that if you see a startup of 3 employees, maybe you fear they are too weak or too risky to work with them. Having a shell of Jellify, for example, helping them and augmenting them with a mix of the right young skills and senior wisdom, I think that for them is a bit reassuring. Maybe this is safer than just go directly with a startup. So we found on the market that this is something that it's a win game. It's a win methodology, win approach. Winning approach, I would say.
So you said B2C. Is this the same exactly for B2B as well, or there's a difference in the way B2B should approach this?
But B2B, some of the concepts I mentioned are similar, because, for example, the number of for B2B, it's important the number of companies, the GDP.
You can your target addressable market.
You can apply the same discussions we had before on the number of people for B2C to a number of companies and the GDP for B2B. So I think it's the same criteria are applicable. And consider that in UAE, there are companies that are branches of multinational where sometimes they don't buy services locally. They buy services in the quarter.
Corporate,
So you need to also do the net GDP to see which
Interesting,
is the real market, for a startup here.
Yes, yes. Which is probably
for
local
example,
offices.
HR services, HR innovation, for example, it's low budget, too low sometimes, but it's local because every HR buys locally. But if you, for example, artificial intelligence now is part of investments that are centrally controlled in any group. So you need to consider also this. So even more important is for a startup to be able to scale or to be a branch, to have a branch in other countries in order to be credible in the global expansion.
That's powerful advice, honestly, because this is, I always thought of it, but I never deliberately and, unconsciously thought about the net target addressable market. Because yes, we have all of those multinationals in the GCC, and they sound like they're multi-billion and they're making a lot of money, but they don't have buying power. So addressing them is useless because they will always revert back to their corporate offices in Europe and in the States and in China. And those have their own suppliers. And obviously you're competing with a completely different caliber.
I tell you a story. Of course, it cannot be generalized. There are exceptions. I give you the example of Pepsi and Coca-Cola.
Okay, yes.
For example.
Yes.
At least, I don't know now, but a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, we're still in this way. The difference, they manage innovation, for example. Coca-Cola manage innovation in a very central way in their innovation hubs that are central. Probably in US, I don't know, but I imagine US. And every Coca-Cola company is inheriting the innovation that is coming from the headquarters, more or less. Pepsi has a completely different approach to this because they decided to federate the innovation. So each region has a budget to spend in innovation. Even more, they created also an internal competition. So each country will invest in innovation, will bring projects to the headquarters. The headquarters will vote the best projects around the world. And those that are winning are, first of all, awarded. The people are awarded. And the solutions they created, or the idea they created, are applied to all offices of Pepsi around the world. So you can say that there are different ways to approach globally the innovation from corporates, and this is also in cascade is creating a different environment and business opportunity for the innovative companies, startups, and so on to work with these corporates.
So I agree with you. So it's not discounting any multinationals. Some multinationals have their
Depends
own
on
way.
And by the way, the Pepsi model that was starting more than 10 years ago, very visionary. Now it's becoming a best practice. And I can name others, but I think I enter in a confidential. I don't want to breach any NDA. But many of our customers, and not only I see on the market, are starting to create this federation of innovation.
And that's the way to manage innovation, especially in large corporations that have lots of geographic span around the world. The way of federation. Okay. I like the word Jellify. There's so two things I wanted to kind of pick your brain on. First, Jellify, it's jelly. It's like fluid and liquid, which is how innovation should be. Is it related? Is this a way?
It is. Related.
Oh, really? So I understood it right. Okay.
So I tell you Jellify. Okay, in English, jellification means when you have something that is liquid that it starts to be more solid. No, and the word gel is for us the best stage for everything. That means we help startups to Jellify in order to become as much as possible solid,
structured.
So we classify them by stage. So if a startup has an idea, for us this idea maybe even
that's structured. A pre-seed.
Pre-seed is in the air state. It's a gas.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Lots of physicians you have.
When they start to create something, maybe a prototype, a first client on the market, so first revenues and so on, shaping the product, still shaping the product, this is in the liquid state. And then they start to have additional business and they start to be a bit organized and growing, and this is the gel state, no? Of course, aiming to arrive to the solid state to be, to do the exit for a startup. But for the corporates, it's the contrary.
Ah.
They are even too much solid.
They're very solid, yeah.
So
they're metal.
they need to try to break these crystals in order to become more jelly, no? And so I think that Jellify aims to let startups and corporates meet in the middle, where there is the best environment to create, to innovate, and to succeed.
That's a very innovative and creative way of looking at how you approach the market, I have to say. Because when I read it, and I saw that, because I didn't see that description somewhere on the website, but the way the website has this jelly of moving around and then innovations, like, you have to be as adaptable as your environment, and that's what jelly. And you don't want to be too liquid, so if you put somewhere, you just disappear, But why purple?
This is a very interesting coincidence. Purple, in 2017, when we selected the purple, I still was not in Jellify. I mean, was not investing in Jellify. I started an investment in 2019, 2020. We selected purple because it was a completely new color. I mean, in the consulting, in the different environment, you had this blue, green,
black,
red,
gray,
but solid colors and serious colors.
Yes,
let me say,
yes.
Maybe strong colors like red, but in any case, solid colors and very, very serious colors. Purple, now it's very, very used, but at that time it was really disruptive. It was, what is this guy's purple? It was like...
unexpected.
I don't know, a music club. What is this, guys?
It
didn't appear like a serious company making business, advising companies, corporates, and so on. But it was intentional. We wanted to be disruptive. We wanted to be innovative also in the impact, in the image, and the impact, and let me say, by design. No? The fact is that in 2020, I think, or 21, purple was named as the Pantone color of the year. And a lot of companies adopted the purple.
Yes.
So now you can see a lot of companies, I can name, but I don't want to make too many names, that adopted purple to show that they are innovative.
Innovative, yeah, because they're outside of the norm.
This was, let me say, a coincidence, but means that we did the right decision, because actually...
you were the pioneers in something that everybody followed.
Like, the purple. Now it's not so...
I like that.
So exclusive, let me say.
It doesn't matter. I mean, when iPhone was out, nobody had a touchscreen, right? Everybody was having buttons, but then they were the first. Now everybody's having that. That doesn't remove the fact that it was innovative. And in your case, I mean, you don't just preach, you walk the talk. You actually took it on yourself to be innovative in your approach, including your brand. I mean, this is the most critical thing. You did that, and then you moved it. I like that. And
purple is also a younger color.
Yes, fresh. Yes.
Fresh, creativity, energy, is inspiring a new way of looking at the reality.
I like that. So what's next? I know that you've stepped up from being a CEO to being a chairman.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what's next? What's Massimo doing in 5 to 10 years?
I surf the wave. That's what I'm saying before. I am investing in things that I believe are important for the future, not just for the return, the financial return. Just because I would like to inspire, invest, and chair as a chairman, as a board member, projects, companies that are going the direction to elevate the humankind on top of this technology growth, exponential growth, changing everything. My last project investment partnership that I did is with an Italian excellency in the innovation of the experience, no? And we are going to launch soon. I cannot disclose details. A partnership with a local hotel chain for an immersive dining experience, multisensorial, multimedia, that is stimulating the 5 senses across a journey of 5 courses, highlighting the 5 Italian excellencies. This is an investment in gastronomy, if you want, restaurant.
Yeah.
But the innovation of the experience is so strong that I believe is consistent with my way of looking at technology to be used.
Yes.
To improve the
Not to
human
be used
experience
by,
and the human
yeah.
abilities. And this is fully consistent. And soon we will announce it.
So finally, what's your one advice to young people who are trying to be more innovative in this part of the world, in Dubai, in the GCC?
Be proud of your abilities, be strong in your skills, and be wise in listening from the past leaders.
Massimo, thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much as well. I really liked this interview. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.